Okay, I just kind of want to go over what we've done so that you kind of can kind of just reflect on how we've done this. So we added a canvas element which allows us to draw. And from that canvas element, we had something called the context, which allowed us to draw circles, lines, color things, change the thickness. This was drawing the Hangman noose. And then we start the program. With the Hangman program, we keep track. Oh, I haven't shown the guesses, but you can do that the same way as we did the puzzle, really. We have a word list in this case. We choose a word. You could switch these out for what we had before, where the user is prompted for a word, and then you show the puzzle, which has no guesses yet. And then you just check for key presses. If a key is pressed, then you go through all this stuff. If you have a duplicate guess, you miss. If you don't, then it checks to see if it's a correct guess. If it is a correct guess, it updates the puzzle, records the guess, and then updates the puzzle. Checks for a win. Otherwise, it's a miss, and it runs that same code again. The miss just increases your fails, draws a body part, and checks for a loss. And then we have these functions which are draw body part. One of them is draw body part, but basically these functions get called depending on whether the key you press was correct or not. And if it's not, it draws one of these body parts based on the number of fails so far. And if it is, it just collects the guess and updates the puzzle based on the guess and then displays that. So this game doesn't really do anything until you press something, and then it responds to what you press and engages one of these functions, and that's the game. So I hope that makes some sense. Right now we're using, these represent the state of the game. It kind of keeps the whole, and along with word. These four little variables kind of define the whole thing. Where you're at in the game, when you win, it's what you affect when you press a key. The display just kind of shows you the state of the game in a visual way. But it's really these four variables that you're basing all your logic around. And we're basically making function calls with functions that we define. And we are making use of what we put on this document called an event listener, which is, in this case, listening for key presses. And that's the trigger. That's what triggers. It's kind of like a hat block in Scratch, if you've ever used Scratch website. A hat block, you could put, when, H key pressed, and then you put blocks of code underneath that. That's basically what the event listener is. It's a hat block, and this is the event, and we access what key is pressed. So that's what we're using here. Event listeners, function calls, string data, text variables, text data, and numerical data. And then we are appending things to the body, adding event listeners to the body, creating HTML elements like the canvas element and the div element. And that's pretty much our project. So I hope that made sense to you, and that you're feeling like you're understanding some of this. So anyway, that's it for this project, and we'll eventually move on to the next one.